Should you be freaking out right now about RAM prices? No, the answer is no, you really shouldn't be. RAM is doing the same thing it's been doing for years. 1996, 2004, 2017, 2021, we've seen the exact same situations time and time again. RAM just follows the exact same cycle, and it's just a pattern at this point. Micron leaving the market is not going to cause a massive disruption, at least long term, for RAM. Micron's not even the biggest producer. Samsung and Hynix are the two biggest producers. I think together they control 70% of the entire global market for RAM. Micron, 25% market share. Okay, yeah, that's gonna have a small impact initially. But that does not mean go buy a bunch of RAM sticks as an investment right now, because that is just a horrible idea. Right now, people can't find RAM, so the price has jumped a lot, like 30-40%, a lot. That's normal when something suddenly disappears from the shelves, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. Again, like I just pointed out, in 1996, 2004, 2017, 2021, each of these years saw very similar things happen to RAM. All of it was disappearing from the shelves. Why? Because I don't know, we're making big investments into like these data centers and stuff like that, but AI is just another new data center that we need. I mean, obviously it's going to use a lot more RAM than whatever we were using previously, but that also doesn't mean that the consumer market is just going to be left to skyrocket 300-400% in price. I mean, Samsung and Hynix literally could never leave billions on the table just sitting there. It doesn't make any sense. Obviously, that gap is going to get filled like it has always been in the past. Obviously, this scale is a bit more extreme. Yeah, so AI data centers require a heck of a lot more RAM, and Micron shutting down its entire consumer business just to focus purely on AI companies, a little scary. But that does not mean go buy more RAM sticks right now as an investment. That is absolutely horrible advice. Micron is still making RAM, they're just selling it to AI companies instead. What happens with all that old RAM? Like DDR6 is just around the corner, so what's going to happen to all this other RAM that they just sold to all these AI companies? It's naturally, they're not just going to throw it out, it's naturally just going to come, make its way back onto the consumer market, because that's what old tech does. I mean, I say old tech, but that's all the RAM we're using right now. The RAM we're using right now is probably considered old tech because, again, DDR6 is just around the corner and it's way more advanced RAM. Because no matter how rare RAM feels during the shortage, we've seen it time and time again. DDR2, DDR3, DDR4, we're on DDR5 right now. There has been shortages every step along the way, and then a new RAM stick comes out, and then boom, all the shortages are solved because all the old RAM hits the market again, making prices cheap again. And again, that's just when the new RAM sticks come out. But again, Samsung and Hynix, the biggest RAM makers on the planet, they're not just gonna leave these billions of dollars on the table for random people to make on freaking reselling RAM sticks. Like that does not make any sense. Like, use some brain cells here. Like, RAM prices are not gonna balloon too far past where they are now. I mean, if you tried to go buy RAM right now as an investment, that would probably be one of the stupidest things you could possibly do. So definitely don't do that. And RAM, yeah, it is not going anywhere, so don't stress out too much. Yes, RAM will be more expensive in the short run, but in the long run, RAM ain't going nowhere, so don't stress too much. Also, if you don't need RAM immediately, don't buy RAM immediately because the prices are ridiculous right now.